Welcome back, Embers! Or if you're new here, welcome to the Campfire Crew. My name is Stone, my pronouns are they, them, and today we're going to be finally cracking in to my Pan Those palettes. So, if you're new here, I have two palettes I'm working on. This Divina palette with currently 9 shades in it, which I am trying to get to 15 uses on 4 different shades in this palette. And then my proper Pan That palette, which is the Carnival 3 by Be Perfect palette. And I am trying to finish panning every shade in this 40 pan palette. So we always start here with the Divina palette because it's the less exciting one. And I don't show what it looks like because it just looks like this. We're not trying to hit pan. But the shades I'm trying to get use out of is these 4 shades. And I want to, so yeah, these 4 and this little L here. So these 2 greens, this gold, and this purpley shade. These 3 are not from Divina, they're from a different shadow. Anyway, we're trying to use those 15 times each this year, which basically equates to 5 uses between these shadows every month. So for February, I wanted to focus on these 2 down here. And so I didn't use these 2 greens, but this month, because it's March, those are probably going to be my focuses. So we're going to start with Majesty the Gold, because it's the first shade in this palette that I've used. I used Majesty twice this month. Once, I think it was as this gold, and then once I toned it down by mixing it with a shade in my Carnival 3 palette, and it was so pretty. I love to use this as is. I love these super gold shades, but it's also really good to mix with other shades. Sometimes I'll mix it with this green to make a greeny gold. Sometimes I mixed it this month with a pink to make a pinky gold. So it's really good to mix. I used it twice, like I said. And then Nemesis I used 3 times. Oh, sorry, Majesty has a total of 4 uses this year. And of all time, it has 21 uses now. There's a bit of a dip, but not much going on in here. And these are super deep, deep pans. I believe they have 2 grams of product each in here or something like that. 1.7, 1.8. But they do have a lot of product in here, and so again, I don't expect to hit pan on any of these. Nemesis I used 3 times this month, and because it's a dark purple, I used it to blend out a lot of pinky looks. This year, it has a total of 4 uses, and then in total, it has 25 uses now. So that is this palette. That means that I have used, between the 2 shadows I was using, there are 5 uses, which means I'm perfectly in line with my goal. Then we're going to go into my proper Pan That palette, and this is what it looked like last month. And this is what it looks like this month. So I'm going to put this down, put a picture of the palette up, and we are going to talk about it. If you see me looking down, it is at my notebook. So the first shadow I used is Tan Lines, and I used it once. I wasn't focusing on this, but I used it once as a blush. And again, it makes a really beautiful blush, and I really like it that way. The next shade I used is in the next row. It's called Yellow. I used it in a look very similar to this that I did on my birthday, where I wore this exact outfit actually. So I had a pink to yellow look that I used yellow on, and I thought it was a really cute look. The next shade I used is Hibiscus, which already had a pan on it, but this pan has definitely expanded since last time with that 1 use. It was a tiny pan before, it's definitely much bigger. Today, I've used it an extra time today, but it is March, so it is going to be counted for next month. But yeah, the pan has definitely expanded, and I'm very happy about that. The next I used is Coral. I used Coral twice. Oh. Coral was supposed to be above Hibiscus. Anyway, I used Coral twice. Okay, editing me here in the same clothes because I basically wear new clothes for 2 months before I put them back in normal rotation with an energy drink. Anyway, I forgot to say Coral I used twice in February. I use it, I believe, in with blushes to make them a little more bright and vibrant, but I'm not entirely sure if that's actually true, but I think that's how I used it. I might have used it on the eye a couple times for those bright looks, but again, not quite sure. But I used it twice in February for a total of 8 uses in its lifetime. It doesn't really have a dip on it, and it's probably not going to get one for a long time, but hopefully in the summer we can start working on that shade. Anyway, back to the main video. Okay, if my angle is a little different, I just had to clear out the storage on my phone. So let's get back into it. I believe we just went over up to Hibiscus. So after I used Bloom. Bloom I used once in February, once this year, and for a total of 8 uses since I've gotten this palette. The next shade is one of my focus shades. It's called Pink Lily. And as you can see, I have a pan in Pink Lily. That pan only took me 3 additional uses, 3 this year, and a total of 8 uses. I ended up using this kind of everywhere. It's a really powdery shade, and that's probably one of the reasons I got it out so quickly, but also I just really wanted that pan. It was pretty late into the month by the time I used any shadows, so I knew I just had to use something a lot to get a pan, and so I used this everywhere. It was the most prominent thing in pretty much all of my looks. For all 3 of those uses, I used almost nothing else. So yeah, that is why Pink Lily has a pan after so few uses, but I'm still excited to have a pan nonetheless, and Pink Lily really is a beautiful shade. It does not look how it looks in the pan on the eyes. It's just a really beautiful pink on the eyes, and I really love it actually. After that, I used Lilac 2 times. Lilac already had a pan on it, but I still really enjoy using shadows that already have pans on them, especially because it helps me make the pans bigger and make me feel like I've used those shades more. So yeah, I used Lilac twice this month, 3 times this year, for a total of 16 uses since I've gotten this palette. The next shade I used is Tahiti, which is right under that. I am assuming I used Tahiti with Lilac at least one of the times. I used it once this month, once this year, for a total of 14 uses since I've gotten this palette. And this also already had a pan on it, but the pan's looking quite nice now, which I'm very excited about. After that, I used our other focus shade, and that is Rose Pink, the shimmer. And I used Rose Pink with a lot of shades. This is the shade that I used that gold with. I used Rose Pink 4 times this month. Those are the only times I've used it this year, for a total of 17 uses since I've gotten it. There's a much bigger dip in it now after those 4 uses. And it's definitely getting a big dip because I have been using my finger with it. So when we hit pan, I think there's going to be a pretty decent sized pan. But we just haven't gotten there yet. But I am excited to hit pan on that. It's going to be a lot easier when I focus on it again later in the year. And the last shade I use in this palette is called Starlight. I already have a pan on this. This pan was not natural. It wasn't from last year, but the year before when I was doing those eyeshadows, not pan that palette. But I did use it once for a total of once this month, once this year. And since I've gotten the palette, it has been used 10 times now. And it's a huge pan because a lot of it does crumble out since it's the most crumbly shade in this palette. So yeah, that is what I've used in this palette so far. Now let's talk about goals for next month. So next month, well, actually it's this month, it's like the 3rd today, is March, which means it's greens. The only greens I have left, since I already panned Forest and Tropics, is Bamboo. And there's no other really green, so I decided to use Reef since it's kind of this like, I think it's a little more blue in the camera, but in real life it is quite teal. So I'm going to swatch out those 2 for you. I guess usually I swatch out all the shades that I have used. So I think I'm just going to put a picture of all those swatches in now. So those are all the shades I have used, and let me swatch out live. Bamboo. So this is what Bamboo looks like. It's a really pretty kind of baby puke color, very like safari. Again, I'll take a picture of it because I know my lighting can be a little bit weird. I'm right next to a window. But it's this very like baby puke green, very like baby puke meets safari green. I actually really, really like it. It's not exactly what I think of when I think of March, but I think it'll still be nice to use. This has a dip in it, but I don't know if it's a huge dip. So yeah, I'm not sure this is going to be the shade that I pan, but out of that and Reef, which I will swatch now, it definitely seems more likely. So this is Reef. It looks very blue on the hand. I'm hoping to make it a little more green by using it with greens. But it's definitely more of a like mint color, like a mint chocolate chip. So that's that one. So those are the two focus shades I'm going to have this month. This doesn't really have a dip at all. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to pan both of these. Bamboo, I feel like I'm more likely to pan, but Reef, I'm not super confident about panning. And I have no idea what I would pan if it wasn't for these two, because like I said, the greens are already panned. I'm probably going to use those quite a bit. There's no green shimmer there's no other greens in this palette that need to be panned or anything mildly green at all. So I don't know what I'm going to pan if not these two. But I'm thinking maybe I'll use these two with some of the browns, especially for Bamboo, and some of the greens, so I can make dips on those. But I guess I'm just going to have to use a lot of these two colors because I can't imagine what else I'm going to pan this month. Yeah, I'm starting to get to the point where most of the shades that don't have pan don't have big dips. I've pretty much gone through all the shades with big dips in them. And so everything else that I'm going to hit this year is going to be much harder. But we're going to try and do it. We're going to try and get these two out and use those greens in that other palette 5 times. And we're just going to see what we can do with it. So yeah, that's my update. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Bye.